What if I told you Chrysler once tried to take over the boating world, but then faded into history? Not just with engines, but with entire boats, trailers, and even custom controls. In the 1970s, Chrysler wasn't just a car company, it was the fifth largest boat builder in America. But today, you'd be lucky to find one of their engines at a junk auction. So what happened? Despite national reach and deep pockets, Chrysler Marine collapsed in under 2 decades. This is the wild story of how Detroit muscle tried to rule the water and sank before it could swim. Let's start with how it all started. When Walter P. Chrysler founded the Chrysler Corporation in 1925, marine engines were never part of the plan. But by the 1960s, as the American recreational market exploded post-WW II, the company saw a new opportunity beyond cars. Boating was booming. Fiberglass runabouts, aluminium fishing boats, and outboard motors were flying off showroom floors. Chrysler wanted in, and they had the resources to make it happen fast. In 1965, Chrysler made its first major move by acquiring West Bend Outboard, a respected Wisconsin-based engine manufacturer with roots dating back to the 1930s. West Bend had built a reputation on small displacement two-stroke outboards, particularly popular with anglers and lakefront cabin owners. Chrysler rebranded the operation as Chrysler Marine and within a year began selling engines under their own name. But Chrysler didn't stop with propulsion. Also in 1965, the company launched Chrysler Boat Corporation, headquartered in Hartford, Wisconsin, right near the newly acquired West Bend facility. This new division produced fiberglass boats, targeting the growing middle class who wanted affordable, stylish, and turnkey boating packages. From the very beginning, Chrysler Marine aimed to control the full boating experience: engine, hull, controls, and branding. Their vision wasn't just to make parts, it was to sell complete systems. And with their size, dealer network, and marketing muscle, they were poised to challenge industry giants like Mercury Marine and OMC. By the early 1970s, Chrysler was not only building both outboard and inboard engines, but had also become one of the top 5 boat manufacturers in the United States, a staggering feat in less than a decade. It was an ambitious strategy, and for a while it worked, but the cracks were already forming, some visible, others hidden beneath the surface. By the way, have you ever come across an old Chrysler Outboard at a boat ramp or swap meet? Subscribe if you've ever wondered where those engines came from, or where they all went. Because here's what's wild. In less than 5 years, Chrysler went from car engines to outboards sitting on every other fishing boat in America. But how did a car company suddenly become a marine engine giant? That's exactly what we're diving into next. Chrysler's entry into outboard production began in earnest after the 1965 acquisition of West Bend Outboard, a Wisconsin company known for lightweight two-stroke engines. By 1966, Chrysler was marketing its own line of branded outboards, ranging initially from 3.5 to 55 horsepower, and later expanding up to 140 horsepower by the early 1970s. The engines were designed for the recreational boater, not racers or hardcore fishermen. Chrysler emphasized ease of use, low cost, and national serviceability. Their motors were relatively simple, with minimal electronic complexity and a focus on pull-start reliability. By 1970, Chrysler Outboards featured innovations like CD, capacitor discharge ignition, and power flow lower units, marketed as user-friendly and low maintenance. The company also introduced high-thrust models for pontoon and utility boats, and began integrating color-coordinated cowlings to match Chrysler boats, a move meant to reinforce brand identity on the water. Chrysler's outboards were never dominant in racing circles, where Mercury and Evinrude held sway, but in the mass market, they thrived. Affordable pricing, aggressive advertising, and Chrysler's strong automotive dealer network helped flood the market with these motors throughout the 70s. By the mid-1970s, Chrysler Outboards had earned a reputation for being workhorse engines, not flashy, but functional. Models like the Chrysler 105 HP and 135 HP V4s were popular on runabouts and small family cruisers. Still, critics noted their engines lagged in high RPM performance and suffered from inconsistent carburation on smaller models. And unlike Mercury or Johnson, Chrysler never fully embraced multi-cylinder inline engineering, which limited peak efficiency. But for weekend boaters, Chrysler Outboards got the job done. But while Chrysler's Outboards were making waves at marinas across the country, their next move took them even deeper into the boating world. Literally. They weren't just powering the back of boats anymore. They wanted to power the entire industry from within. Let's talk about inboards. Chrysler's marine ambitions extended beyond outboards. By the late 1960s, they began producing a full range of inboard marine engines, primarily by adapting proven Chrysler automotive power plants for marine duty. These engines were branded under Chrysler Marine Power and ranged from inline sixes to big block V8s. The most widely used model was the Chrysler LM318, a marine version of the 5.2-liter 318 cubic inch V8 from Chrysler Cars and Trucks. It became popular in ski boats, mid-size cruisers, and houseboats for its reliable torque and straightforward maintenance. Other popular engines included the M360 5.9-liter, M400 6.6-liter, and the powerful M440 7.2-liter big block, often used in larger vessels and performance boats. Chrysler also marinized its legendary Slant 6 225 cubic inch engine, a unique inline six known for its reliability and compact packaging. It was typically found in smaller cruisers and fishing boats. Most Chrysler Inboards used raw water cooling systems and were mated to Velvet Drive or Paragon transmissions. While the engines were praised for being easy to work on and widely available, they weren't always purpose-built for marine use. Critics noted that adapting automotive blocks without comprehensive redesigns often led to corrosion issues and suboptimal fuel efficiency on water. Still, for many boat builders, Chrysler's engines offered solid value. They were American-made, widely supported, and powerful enough for most recreational applications. Throughout the 1970s, Chrysler's inboard power plant could be found in brands like Silverline, Sea Sprite, and even some ski boats from Century and Correct Craft. By 1965, Chrysler wasn't content just supplying engines. They wanted to sell entire boats. That same year, they launched Chrysler Boat Corporation, headquartered near their newly acquired West Bend outboard facility in Hartford, Wisconsin. Their timing couldn't have been better. The fiberglass revolution was in full swing, and families were eager for affordable recreational boats. Chrysler responded with an aggressive lineup of fiberglass bow riders, ski boats, runabouts, and utility boats, all factory-matched with Chrysler Outboards or Inboards. Popular models included Chrysler Conqueror, a sleek, futuristic-looking speedboat with automotive style lines and aggressive hull angles. It became a cult classic. Chrysler Charger and Chieftain, bow riders aimed at the family boating market. Chrysler Pirateer, Mutineer, and Buccaneer. Though technically sailboats, many came with Chrysler Outboards and showcased the brand's design reach. Their boats were sold as turnkey packages, trailer, engine, and hull included, often at lower prices than competitors like Glastron or Sea Ray. That made them popular with first-time buyers. Build quality was generally good, but not exceptional. Fit and finish were adequate, though some owners later complained about brittle gel coat and inconsistent lamination. Still, the value proposition was hard to beat. By the mid-1970s, Chrysler had become one of the top 5 boat manufacturers in the US, shipping thousands of units annually. But the boating world is competitive, and while Chrysler's designs turned heads, problems were starting to surface. And as we'll see next, not every Chrysler product left owners smiling. Some engines and boats earned loyalty, others sparked frustration, lawsuits, and dead batteries. Let's break it down. But before that, if you are liking this deep dive into the history of Chrysler, make sure to subscribe. It just gets better from here. Now back to the video. Chrysler's Marine division had a little of everything. Fan favorites, frustrating failures, and a few machines that quietly vanished into history. Let's start with the good. The Chrysler LM318 inboard engine, based on the company's durable 318 cubic inch automotive V8, became a workhorse on the water. It powered everything from houseboats to ski boats and earned a reputation for being simple, dependable, and easy to repair. Even today, it's not uncommon to find one still running strong in a 1970s cruiser. Then there was the Chrysler Conqueror, a fiberglass rocket with aggressive styling that borrowed from muscle cars of the same era. With its low-slung profile, pointed bow, and bold paint schemes, it lucked fast even when docked. These boats have since become cult classics among vintage boat enthusiasts. But not everything aged so well. Chrysler's smaller 6-horsepower to 15-horsepower outboards struggled with poor carburation, hard starting, and unreliable ignition systems. The recoil starters were known to jam, especially on colder mornings. While they sold well due to their price, many owners found them frustrating over time. And then there were the experiments, like the Chrysler M3118 jet drive. It ditched the propeller in favor of a jet unit aimed at safer shallow water boating. In theory, it was clever. In practice, it was underpowered, inefficient, and short-lived. In the end, Chrysler's marine products offered strong value, but often at the cost of refinement. For every die-hard fan, there was a disappointed buyer. And as the 1980s loomed, disappointment would turn into decline. And those liabilities would prove costly, because what came next wasn't just a market shift, it was a total unraveling of Chrysler's marine empire. By the late 1970s, Chrysler Corporation wasn't just struggling, it was on the edge of financial ruin. The auto division had been hammered by fuel crises, inflation, and rising competition from Japanese manufacturers. Chrysler's leadership knew they had overextended, and the Marine division, despite its initial success, was no longer seen as essential. In 1979, Chrysler accepted a $1.5 billion loan guarantee from the US government, the largest corporate bailout of its kind at the time, but the government imposed strict conditions. Chrysler was required to sell off all non-core operations, including boats, trailers, and marine engines. That same year, the decision was made to dismantle Chrysler Marine. In 1981, the outboard engine division was sold to Bayliner Marine Corporation, which rebranded the line as Force Outboards. At first, the engines remained virtually unchanged. Same blocks, same tooling, even the same quirks. Bayliner paired Force engines with its own boats to create low-cost packages that appealed to entry-level buyers. But Chrysler's boat-building division wasn't so lucky. It found no buyer. Chrysler Boat Corporation was shut down completely. Fiberglass molds were scrapped, staff were let go, and the factory in Hartford, Wisconsin was closed. As for the inboard engines, Chrysler ceased production shortly thereafter. Parts support dried up, service networks faded, and just like that, the top 5 US boat builder vanished in under 2 years. Force Outboards lingered until 1999, when Brunswick Corporation, owner of Mercury Marine, quietly discontinued the brand. Chrysler's marine empire, once bursting with promise, had dissolved into the water it once aimed to rule. But while the factories closed and the logos faded, not everything was lost, because even today, Chryslers Legacy still echoes across American lakes and boatyards. Though Chrysler's Marine division shut its doors decades ago, traces of it still ripple through the boating world. Across lakes, in dusty garages, and at online auctions, Chrysler boats and engines continue to surface. Some have been carefully preserved by longtime owners, others have survived through sheer mechanical stubbornness and the dedication of a niche group of enthusiasts who refuse to let them fade. Among the most enduring pieces of that legacy are the LM318, LM360, and M440 inboard engines. These V8s, adapted from Chrysler's automotive lineup, remain surprisingly serviceable today. Their popularity isn't just nostalgia, it's practicality. Standard engine layouts and widely available parts make them far easier to keep running than many marine-specific power plants from the same era. Then there are the boats themselves. The Chrysler Conqueror, once seen as a flashy oddity, has become a collector's favorite. Its wedge-like hull, aggressive stance, and bold styling have aged into a kind of fiberglass Americana. Restored examples are rare, but deeply admired. Even Force Outboards, born from Chrysler's original outboard designs, still hang on. They're not glamorous, they're not fast, but in small marinas and behind lake cabins, they're still starting, still pushing John boats and pontoons through calm water. All of this serves as a reminder. While the company's marine chapter ended abruptly, its influence didn't vanish overnight. And that legacy of ambition, accessibility, and sometimes overreach is what makes Chrysler Marine more than just a forgotten footnote. Now let's bring it full circle, because there's one final lesson hidden in this story, and it's one today's boaters would be wise to remember. Chrysler's foray into the marine world was bold, fast, and for a time, remarkably successful. They entered a crowded market, built a full lineup of boats and engines, and became one of the largest players in American recreational boating within just a decade. But the very thing that fueled their rise, vertical control, brand scale, and rapid expansion, also made them vulnerable. As the economy shifted and the automotive core collapsed, Chrysler Marine had no backup plan, no standalone identity, no time to evolve. And yet their story isn't one of complete failure. Chrysler Marine got thousands of Americans onto the water. They sold full boating packages at prices many families could actually afford. Their engines weren't always cutting edge, but they were American-made, accessible, and fixable. Their boats still float today, not just in water, but in memory. They remind us of a time when innovation moved fast, when car companies dreamed bigger than asphalt, and when owning the weekend meant a fiberglass bow, a two-stroke scream, and the Chrysler badge on your side. In the end, Chrysler Marine was never just about horsepower or hull design. It was about an idea that boating could be for everyone. That with the right tools, even a Detroit automaker could build its own navy. They didn't get everything right, but they gave it everything they had. If this story sparked a memory or made you want to go hunting for a Conqueror on Craigslist, hit that subscribe button. We've got more deep dives on lost engines, doomed outboards, and the machines that made American boating history. Do check out our channel for this. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.